Hello, if you have ADHD and you are working on your dissertation, but you're finding it hard to focus and follow through, it's most likely because you're listening to everybody who don't have ADHD and their advice, and it's working against you instead of for you. So if that sounds of interest, please keep on watching. Hello, y'all. As y'all come in, thank you so much for your patience and your flexibility. I needed to start an hour later because life is over here, life in a little bit. Nothing too bad. I just needed some time. So let me know how you're doing. How are you on this Friday? We're going to talk about ADHD. This is Sir because he is being it's been a little needy today. I'm going to put him down in a minute. But if you have ADHD, not that I'm asking you to self-disclose like this conversation is for you, I am someone who did not know for a very long time that is what was happening in my brain. I was going through my program and I was trying to figure out how is it that people were sitting down in coffee shops or how they were sitting down just reading for hours and hours and hours. And I consider myself a reader. Like, I can get lost in a fiction book really easily. But when it came to like research and stuff, I didn't understand how people were just so focused and they were so energized by it, and I did not get it. I also thought something was wrong with me because every time I would go to class, I would have a hard time just sitting there. I would have a hard time like following the conversation and all these things. And had I known about like ADHD or to even get tested, I think my whole experience would have been different. But where I started to what do you think? Breath? I love it. Where I started to understand the superpower that is of ADHD was I want to go to my second year, the end of my second year in the program. So my program, they still have it, but it's a little bit different. When I was there, they had this process called the publishable paper. And you had to write up a proposal, conduct a study, do IRB, have a full like data collection, analyze it, and write up a manuscript with the goal of publishing it. And I was like kind of putting it off because I didn't understand like why I was doing that so early when I didn't have any research classes. Because by this point, I only had like my intro to research, and I had my like a NOVA class, but I hadn't had any. I think I had like an intro to qualitative research, but that was it. So in my brain, I was like, I don't have enough knowledge to be trying to design nobody's study. But the program was changing how they were doing our preliminary exams. And it was either at the end of the year, so the end of 2014 or 2015, it was either I sit and I take my exams in August, or I had to wait an entire year to take my exams, and I couldn't do my dissertation. And so my brain was still thinking I was going to finish it for a year. So I was like, oh, I only have 3 months to write up this proposal, turn it in, get IRB approval, do all the things. And I remember freaking out about this. Y'all, I've been doing some journaling because I didn't remember these details until earlier today. But I ended up asking my chair, how am I supposed to do all of this in 3 months when I don't even know how to do research? And she said, I'm a guide you. Now, if you're familiar with my story, you know that I put my head down for like 2 or 3 months and I wrote a proposal and I went to go defend it and I failed that defense. So if you've been around me, that story where I talk about I walked in and I failed a defense and I was looking at my chair like, girl, how did you let me walk in this room and do that? This is the other half or the back end of that story. I will tell that another time because I don't want to get myself lost down a whole rabbit hole. But just to say, I know what it feels like to go into a defense thinking it's going to be good and you fail it and it's not good. And I had to rewrite that proposal. And so I did that. But I remember being like, I only have 1 more week left of class to collect data. I was doing research on Black lettered Greek organizations. I'll say it that way. Black women in Black lettered Greek organizations. And I only had a week left of school. So I had to collect all of my data in that week. And I remember going to chapter meetings and I was like, I could do this. And I remember doing like 7 interviews back to back in one day. And that moment taught me 2 things. 1, I've been thinking small. So most likely you've been thinking small. 2, it was so fun. When I stopped freaking out about doing 7 hours of interviews back to back and I like took a step back, I was like, wait a minute, that was kind of fun. I kind of like it. And that was a seed that was planted. I want you to know, I did not consciously make a connection from this experience to my dissertation. I'm only now making this connection. But back then, I remember being like, that was so fun. I want to do it again. but I had to like do all the stuff of analyzing it and writing it up in order to take my prelims. But what it did, I did have a conscious understanding that what if I made everything in my life like that, was how I walked away from that published paper experience. I was like, what if I make everything like a game? Like, how fast can I get this done? Again, I don't know it's ADHD, but this is exactly what it is. It's like, how can I make this fun? So when I started studying and preparing for my prelims, I made it to a game. I was like, I'm not going to be able to work more than 4 hours. But this needs to be fun because I do not want to read any of this stuff. It was boring the first 2 times I read it. I don't want to read it again. So I was like, oh, you get to rewatch all the seasons of Grey's Anatomy. So what I would do is I would go to a coffee shop and I would turn on an episode and then I would be studying my notes. When that episode went off, I was like, ooh, I'm free. I get to go outside or I get to watch whatever I want to watch, like a YouTube video, because I was really trying to build a business. I was really trying to build one. And so I did that for a good 2 to 3 weeks. And I remember the feeling I had walking into my exams. Everybody else was scared, but I was like, I mean, it's just another day at the coffee shop. I'm going to sit down. The only difference is I don't get to watch Grey's Anatomy, but I can listen to music. So I'm like, the only difference is I'm going to set my timer and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go read. I'm going to practice I'm going to follow what I practice. The first 45 minutes, I'm going to read. I'm going to make an outline. I'm going to take a break. The second 45-minute section, I'm going to do a shitty draft. And I'm going to get up and I'm going to take a break. The third 45-minute section, I'm going to edit and do like citations. I'm going to take a break. In that final 45-minute session, I am going to look over and edit it. And that is what I did, because our exams process, I know everybody else's exam process is different, but mine was, you had 4 days total. The first 3 days, you were in a room and you had 4 hours to answer one question. No notes, just 1 page of citations. So that is how I practice. And the 4th day, you get you get 24 hours to answer like a case study type question, and you can use whatever notes or whatever. So when I walked into my prelims and I was good to go, now let me be honest, my first day I did freak out the first 2 hours. But after I calmed down, I just got back into my rhythm. And I just showed up day after day, putting words on page. And I was like, I don't know if I passed, but it's up for them to let me know. I did pass the written part, and I did the same exact process, gamifying it. I did the same process for preparing for my oral exams. I would take 4 hours, I would practice, I would think of questions, I would talk out loud, I would critique myself, but I had a rhythm, 45 minutes on, 15 minutes off. And what changed it, where I could not deny that process was working, was I was terrified, y'all, to go into my oral exams, because I know I come on here, but I really don't like speaking in front of people, and then I was really insecure about speaking in front of people. And our oral exam process is in front of all of the faculty of the program. So you're at this long conference table with all these faculty, but it's very intimidating, and people are just spitting out questions. And I can't tell you what was happening in the moment, but looking back at it, because I blinked out, but looking back, I answered every single question. There was not there wasn't a stumble, there wasn't I don't know. And even when some raggedy faculty tried to sneak a question in, how I know it was a raggedy question is everybody like had this look of shock on their face, like, how dare you ask her that? I said, oh, that's light work. I felt it in my spirit of like, it's light work. It's light work. And then I answered their question and looked back at her like, okay, are we done? And when I saw everybody, like this sense of pride on their face, I was like, I did it. Now, I did not register this in the moment. I just did journaling. But that taught me, oh, I've just been following everybody's rules that don't work for me. I tell you that long story to say, you might be following other people's rules and they're not working for you. You might be thinking that you have to write every single day. And if you're not writing every day, if you're not waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, if you're not writing for 4, 5, 6 hours every day, if you're not producing page after page after page, that you're doing something wrong. And I just want you to consider maybe the process that you're trying to use isn't one that works for you. Here's an analogy. Hold on, let me get a drink of water. So far, can I get a reaction? So something I do on the call sometimes when I'm trying to see how people are, I ask them to drop either one word or an emoji. So can you put a word or an emoji in the chat about how are you feeling right now based on what I've shared with you so far? How are you feeling? Give me an emoji or a one-word response. Okay, so I want to give you an analogy. Thank you for the heart. I am someone who cannot stand to be hot. Like, I don't think y'all understand. My thermostat at night is on 65 degrees. I would make it go lower, if I didn't think like something seriously would happen to the infrastructure. Thank y'all so much for the emojis. Right, I sleep with 65 degrees. That's how much I hate to be hot. I am from Chicago. Okay, in the winter time, the window is open. That is my level of how much I do not like to be hot. Okay, if I go to someone's house or whenever I have to stay with people and they're like, they're like, yeah, I like it cool. I'm like, oh, what's cool to you? And they're like, oh, like 74. I'm like, where are you from? Because how is that cool? That's not cool. No. So if I go to someone's home and I have to stay there, I already make peace with I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to sleep a little bit, but it's going to be off and on because I'm going to spend the entire night coughing and sweating, tossing and turning because I'm uncomfortable and I can't breathe and now my asthma is acting up. Right? So you get me? It's hot. It's not that I'm not safe. It's not that I'm not in the bed. It's not that I can't technically sleep, but it's not quality sleep and I'm waking up multiple times every hour. That is what it's like when you have ADHD and you're trying to force yourself to do it the way that everybody else does it. When you're trying to force yourself to sit for long stretches of time and you're just like, I gotta prove that I'm committed. I have to prove that I'm dedicated. When you try to show up every day to do something that is going against your system, it's the equivalent of you being in a room that's too hot for you. It's not that you can't technically be in the room, right? It's not that you can't technically be in the bed. It is just much more challenging for you. Now, some people are going to be real technical with this. I'm giving it to you in the way that I understand it in my brain. ADHD, as I understand it, means you have more dopamine receptor sites than other folks. What that means is dopamine is the thing that makes us go do, that gives us the drive, the motivation we're all looking for. Let's just say for simplicity's sake, that is dopamine. Let's say for that, like your friend over here, let me just say my friend, I don't know, because I think all my friends got ADHD. Let's just say I got a friend, Sam, over here. Sam could go call their mother, could watch a funny TikTok and laugh, and could pet Sir, the dog, and be good to go, have all their dopamine for the day. Because Sam only needs 3 interactions of dopamine. But me, I need like 10 interactions of dopamine in order to have the same level of motivation as Sam. Y'all following me? It's just that you have a higher threshold. Now, the way that most people talk about that difference between 3 and 10, they make it seem like it's something wrong with 10. That's them. That's their deficit thinking. We're not worried about that. Instead, I want you to reframe that because that means you have a higher capacity to do more. So if we look at that a different way, if Sam does 3 interactions, Sam is tapped out for the day for dopamine. But if I do 3 interactions, we just getting started because I need 7 more to have the same level of motivation as Sam. So that means I got to have more interactions. I need to have more phone calls or watch more videos. I need to watch more TikToks and laugh. Right? I need to do more. My capacity to do more is higher. When I try to only do 3 interactions every day, I don't have the same level of motivation as Sam. Like, we did the same things, but I don't have the same level of energy because I need 10. So if I'm showing up and I'm trying to be just like Sam, yeah, it's going to be real hard to make it through the day. It's going to be real hard to want to get out the bed, to want to get dressed, to want to do anything. So then how do you give yourself enough stimulation, if you will, without completely burning yourself out because you still got a human body? Just because your brain got receptor sites does not mean your body can handle that. So if you could put a 1 in the chat that you're still following me, because I just want to make sure that this analogy is working and I'm being as clear as possible. So put a 1 in the chat if y'all are following me. When I try to force myself to only do the little bit like Sam, it takes more energy to stop myself from doing more, right? Because my threshold is 10. But if Sam is over here freaking out, right? So when Sam watches me on a typical day, Sam is like, I don't know how you do all of that. Why you gotta do so much? If I'm not careful, somebody better clock it. If I'm in my people pleasing mode, I'm going to take Sam's disgust or like critique as that there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. Sam is just not used to being around somebody who needs 10 interactions when they only need 3. But just because Sam doesn't understand, it's not for Sam to understand. Sam can stay over there and do the 3 interactions. We over here need to do 10. So let me translate this then to the dissertation process. When you go to, let's say you go to your chair and you're like, okay, I'm ready to start the proposal. And they tell you, oh, just go read. Go start with the literature. They think they're talking to you. They think that you are Sam, right? So we bring the same analogy. When Sam goes to the literature, Sam is only going to download 3 articles. And Sam is going to spend days and hours dissecting those 3 articles. When you go to the literature, you're pulling 10 articles and you're dissecting those 10 articles in the time that it takes Sam to dissect the 3 articles. This is real good. I really do like this analogy. I didn't even plan this, but I'm liking it. Right, so let me repeat that. In the time that it takes Sam to read and dissect 3 articles, you can do 10. But when you go to office hours, because y'all got the same chair, let's say, and y'all both are like, yeah, I was looking in the literature. And Sam is like, oh, thing 1, thing 2, thing 3, because all Sam did was find the main point of each article and went into the office and told the chair like, oh yeah, I saw this, I read this, and I read that. And so the chair was like, good job. You go into the office, but because you read 10 articles, you like thing 1, thing 2, thing 3, thing 4, and it was thing 7, and then it was thing 10, and did I mention thing 9? You sound as if you are not, because you're not presenting it as 1, 2, 3, you sound as if you don't know what you're talking about because Sam is talking to somebody who thinks like Sam. The chair and Sam think the same, but you read 10, and because you're not presenting the way that they were presented, in their brain, it means you're so scattered, and the only reason why you're scattered is because you didn't do the reading like Sam did. I hope you are clocking it, right? It's not that you're not doing the work. You did over triple the amount of work, but because you're not presenting it the way that Sam is, they're telling you you're wrong, right? So there's multiple things happening. I'm talking about ADHD, and I'm also talking about respectability a little bit and professionalism and how we live in this Western logical linear world, right? I got a lot of things going, but I think y'all are following me. When you're in that conversation with the chair and Sam and they're like, yeah, you did your 3 things, and you're over there like, but I did 10, and they're not responding to you in the same way, you then may say, I must be doing something wrong. You don't know that Sam only read 3 articles because you just heard what Sam said. And so you might be thinking, Sam must have read 30. Maybe I didn't do enough. So then you go back and you start reading 30 articles, and then you come back to that same conversation, and now you got even more points bouncing around your head. And now people are like, you know what? When you just need to write. You just need to write. When you write, it'll be great. So then maybe you try to go write, right? You try to go write. You're like, okay, let me go do this. And you're like, all right, my chair told me to write, or what I should do is sit down, go to like a library or a study room. I should go somewhere quiet so I can focus, right? That's what school teaches us. Your chair maybe gave you that advice. And so then you sit down in this very quiet room. There's nothing happening. So now your brain is like, now you just starved us of the environment. Okay, so we're in the room and you're trying to force yourself to focus on one document. And you're trying to say, I'm supposed to read these things and write, because that's how they described it to me. You read literature, and then you take what you read, you make some notes, and then you take those notes and you write pages. And that's all they told you. And that sounds simple enough, but you sit down, now you're in a very hot room. You're in a hot, like a 90-degree room, and now you're uncomfortable. Now you're sweating, but you're trying to focus on reading, but your brain is like, but it's so hot though. But I'm trying to focus on reading. I'm trying to do my notes, but it's so hot. Why is it so quiet? Ooh, what does that smell? Right? Because now your brain has to entertain itself because you're in a room with nothing going on and you're trying to focus on this one thing when you have such a high level of dopamine you need to hit. Let me pause. Okay. I want to make sure, because I can't see y'all, so I don't know. And if y'all like, girl, we get it. Just keep talking. I'll do that. You could tell me that. I promise I won't be offended. It's because it's new and I'm nervous that I'm not making sense, which is one of my biggest insecurities. So when you speak your insecurities out loud, we're good. Okay. Thank you. Is it Jamie? Oh no, Jamelia. Okay. You're doing everything that the people tell you to do to be a good student, right? You've been doing everything they told you to do. The only thing that's happening is that what they told you to do just doesn't work with your way of being. You need more stimulation, not less. They think the reason why you sound quote unquote scattered is because you're trying to do too much, too fast, when no, you ADHD need to do a lot. You need to do a lot of different things at the same time. Otherwise, you won't be able to focus. And for folks who don't have ADHD, that makes no sense because they're the opposite. It's not about one being better than the other. It's about how does your brain work? So when people look at me, they're like, ma'am, now, my coach was on here. I don't know if she's still here. But ma'am, what's happening? You got 50 projects going on. I'm like, because if I don't, I will get bored. And that's what that publishable paper process taught me. I was like, oh, this whole time I thought something was wrong with me. But the only thing that was happening was only having 3 classes to go to every week wasn't enough stimulation. Because I already have a master's degree in this. So the information we're reading is not new to me. So now my brain is bored. And because it's bored, I can't focus as much. And we're going to class and we're just talking about the same thing over and over that I've been talking about for the past 10 years. And they're not saying anything new. It's boring. And when all you're in a class, and our classes were set up in which Wednesday from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., we were in the same room with bare walls and nothing. So there's no stimulation happening. It's the same thing as you trying to go to the library study room with nothing on the walls, no noise, no music, and trying to write. Your brain is like, hello, we need more dopamine, and you just starved me of the little bit. We were already not getting enough, and now you just starved me of the little bit I was getting. And so if you're starving, you're going to fight to get more. So that is why your brain is like, oh, don't you want to go do this? The email, we go do this over here. Like this person, you should call them. Because it is trying to distract you from the hard thing that you're doing. But it's also like, we don't got enough stimulation to do that. You keep trying to do that. And I need something more. So when I went to the coffee shop, I'm at the coffee shop. There's these coffee shops, the ones I was going to were like the most popular in town. So they were always packed. Like you had to get there early. You had to be very strategic when you got there so you would get a seat. Just a seat. Who knows if you had a table or an outlet, but to just get a seat in this place. And it had a lot of tables and whatnot. Right? So that means, I'm saying that to say, it was a lot of people there. A lot of people talking. Sometimes they would have open mic nights. You got the regular noise of the espresso machine going, the coffee machine, all the clinking and clanking of glasses and cups. Of course, they got coffee house music going. Right? So when I go there, I'm like, ambiance. That is enough for my to start giving me more dopamine because people are doing, but I don't have to talk to them. So that's even more dopamine because I'm I could still be an introvert, but I get to be around interactions. Then when I sat down and put on my headphones and I'm watching Grey's Anatomy, that's another layer of interaction that's happening, right? That's another layer of dopamine happening because I love me some Grey's, okay? I've been a day one fan. I remember when the very first episode came out, okay? I love me some Meredith Grey. And Christina, of course, okay, let me focus. But that's another layer. Then I have the notes in front of me that I'm reading. That's another layer. And sometimes I will have a YouTube video playing of somebody decorating their planner, another layer. If somebody walked by, they would be like, no, how are you focusing on How are you focusing here with all these people? You got the coffee noise, you got the TV show, you got the Plan With Me video, and you're reading notes? What's happening? But when you're operating in a higher capacity, that's what you need. It may not make sense to Sam. This ain't for Sam, this for you. And that was the type of focus I needed to prepare. The way I felt so confident going into that exams process, I was like, I've just been doing this all wrong. Even now when I'm working, most likely Beyonce is playing. There's still a YouTube video of some sort playing. Sometimes I'll be listening, I'm listening for an episode, like a podcast episode or something, to see if that's okay. And I'm writing. I have multiple things happening in the moment, as well as multiple large projects happening. What really underscored this, and let me know if y'all have any questions, what really underscored this is by the time I made it to the dissertation process, I complete my exams. I had to take a break because that was a more personal relationship thing. It took me out. When I come back to do my dissertation proposal, I know how to set up my environment and what I need. So I was able to write the proposal in 30 days. Right? Y'all know my story about my friend Lamisha telling me to sit down at the kitchen table. Girl, you ain't wrote nothing in 9 months. Sit down here and you can write for 10 minutes. Again, she gamified it for me. She said, you can sit at this table. I don't care what you have to say. I don't care if you got to cry. I don't care what music you got to turn on. But you have 10 minutes and you got to write. And then you can get up. Because she was like, and you can get up. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go back and color was what I was thinking. I write for 10 minutes. Hyper focus kicks in. Right? Because I've already set up my environment. Lamisha is in the kitchen. Somebody else is cooking. There's a TV in the background. I have on my headphones. I have layers of stimulation. And I have a clear goal of what I need to do. So I just write. And that leads me to keep doing that. In 30 days, I have a proposal. When my chair tells me you have 2.5 months to go from RB submission to a finished draft of your dissertation, how I was able to make a plan so quick is because my brain was like, okay, I just need this environment. I still don't know if this ridiculous goal is going to work, but I just need this environment. And I also was thinking earlier today in my journal that how she knew to tell me to do that in 2 months was because she watched me the past year. I didn't put that together. But she watched me show up and do a publishable paper in 30 days. She watched me take my exams and ace it. And I didn't have as much time to prepare as other people in my cohort did. So she watched me do that. So I'm thinking something about her brain was push her to do the dissertation in the same fashion. And so when I went to go make my plan, I was like, okay, how do I make sure I have my layers of stimulation? This is how we get to, yes, I'm going to attempt to finish this dissertation in 2 months, and I'm going to also do this business. I had a different business. I closed that down, and I start my dissertation coaching business at the same time that I'm doing the dissertation. When people ask me, why would you do both? This is why. My brain needs a higher level of interaction. Yours does too, especially when you are stressed and you're in a high stress environment like this. Yes. Now, I'm not recommending it because that did come at a high cost, but it taught me, we're just not stimulated enough. So I'm going to go into what I give students in the FYD. Let me look at this question. No, because I didn't even know. I didn't know. I don't find out until later when somebody's like, you should go to the doctor. And that is when CPTSD gets diagnosed, as well as panic disorder, ADHD. I'm like, well, that's great, but we're at the end of this, and what I'm supposed to do now? And I don't have it in here, I don't think, to show you. I'll go get the thing that I take. I'm not taking prescribed medicine. It's what is that called? Amino acid. And I'll see if I'll maybe put it in my stories so that I love it. It keeps me every morning with a little bit of caffeine. It's it helps. Because there was a whole shortage of Adderall during the pandemic, and this has been my saving grace. Okay, anyway. So how do you gamify the dissertation process? How do you trust yourself to be able to handle a lot? Erica is here. Right. This is how I knew to push Erica to be like, I think you could do more. I think you're trying to do too less, and that's why it's so hard for you. This is why I was like, Chris, write your proposal in 30 days. It's not so much that I'm like, oh, you must hit the goal, but what you may find is you probably just wasn't giving yourself a more highly rewarded enough task. However I want to say that. Right? The reward wasn't enough, or the task wasn't engaging enough. Because if you think, well, I only need to read 3 articles, but without even thinking you could read 10, you're forcing yourself to use extra energy to play small. So you spend all day playing small, trying to fit in these boxes. So by the time you get to the end of the day, you're exhausted because you've been playing small, because you've been trying to force yourself, you've been trying to hold yourself back, right? Because everybody tells you, be focused, do one thing at a time, right? Don't try to do too much. And so you spend all day monitoring, am I doing too much? Am I focusing on one thing? Okay, they told me to do it like this. That's exhausting. Something I talk a lot about in the Finish Your Dissertation group is, what if you just let your process be your process? What if you let how you naturally show up just be your process? So if you are someone who hyper focuses on Sunday and then you can't show up the rest of the week, what is the problem with that? Why is that a problem? If you're someone who, I got a good weekend out of the month, there's going to be that first week of the month, let's say that Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to put 10 hours in each day at the library, but I'm not going to be able to do nothing else the rest of the month. Why is that a problem? Why is it a problem? It's what I would like. People say, well, I'm supposed to write every day. Why? Who said? Why? How do you know that works for you? Well, I should be looking at it or reading. I'm just wasting time. Are you wasting time? Because if you were doing it how they wanted you to do, yeah, you would show up and you would put 30 minutes that day, 20 minutes that day, 2 hours this day, maybe an hour that day, 2 hours this day. And maybe if you were doing it little by little, let's say you got to 7 hours a week. But if you just followed your natural hyper focus routine, and you just went all in on Sunday and you got your 10 hours in, what difference does it make if you do 10 hours in one day versus 7 hours over another day? I mean, you'll have 3 extra hours on a Sunday, but you get what I'm saying? Like, why are we why are we talking shit to ourselves about how we work? If hyper focus kicked in, like you thought your plan was you were going to write on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but you started hyper focusing on Monday and you got everything done, what's the problem? Don't show up on Wednesday and Friday. You did it. This is why we talk so much in the group about we write a plan for what we're going to produce, and we don't write a plan for how many hours we want to work. Because you think you know how long it takes for you to do a thing, but imagine if you had a list of tasks that were like, this is going to take you 20 minutes, this is going to take you 30 minutes, this will take you 5 minutes. And it's on one sheet of paper. And so when you go to sit down in your wherever you're working for the day, it's easy to just cross those out. 1, because it feels like a game. 2, you don't have to do a lot of convincing yourself to do it because you're only doing 20-minute tasks or 30-minute tasks or something that takes 5 minutes. It feels like, ooh. And because you start crossing out things, now your dopamine is like, okay, now we talking. Look at us doing things from start to finish. Boom, 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 boom. So when people first learn the scholar routine, planning routine, they're like, this is a bit tedious. I'm like, trust the process. Take the hour. Make you a detailed plan, because you on Friday, when you're looking at a list of things that are all crossed out, do you know how proud you're going to feel? Do you know how energetic you're going to feel? Do you know how you're going to be like, what's next? And when you can start to trust yourself because you're crossing out thing after thing, then you're going to be like, you're going to get to Friday and be like, I mean, I got some time. I got some energy. What else could I do? And this is how you start to compound the efforts. This is how we get people like Natasha, I mentioned, I think it was yesterday, writing her proposal. Yeah, wrote and defended her proposal in 30 days. Or I need to have a list of people, because I know I say the same people over and over, but I promise you, y'all, I have receipts for days. I'm thinking about Natasha Winston, because she's also in my head. We're going to do the Natashas today. Natasha Winston she had to rewrite her proposal 6 times, I think. It's a story. You can go scroll back down. We did a live not too long ago. But the reason why she was pissed that she had to rewrite them. But the reason why she was like, okay, fine, I'll rewrite them, is because she already knew how to set up her environment. And she had a process, and she knew how to make her plan every Sunday in a way that was like, I'm just gamifying this. I feel like my friend spent more time at IKEA than she did, like, for real, writing her dissertation. It was the pandemic. We were all just trying to get outside. Okay, let me do this. So let me know if y'all have questions. I need to put, because I keep trying to do this, and I'm trying to do 2 things. Here we go. And this is more detailed oriented. All right. So what we do, I set up a program that is very much ADHD friendly. Knowing what I know now about ADHD, that I didn't realize I was doing this at first, but this program makes sense. So I love when people ask me, I have ADHD, can I be in this program? I'm like, oh, it was made for you. It was made for you. Your hardest part when you get into the Finish Your Dissertation program or institute is that you're so used to how other people have been telling you to do things that you're going to first reject the way I'm telling you to do it. I'm not going to take offense to it. I promise you. I'm going to say this to you so much during your first month. It's all right. It's going to take you time, but I'm like, just trust me. Maybe just try it a little bit. The planning process is the thing that people are like, that's not going to work for me. Because you have to get everybody else's voice out of your head. You got to get everybody else's voice. And I mean, Erica will tell you, like now she swears by it. But I'm saying like other people in the group, especially when they first come in, they're like planning. It's like either half of the group is like planning, a little skeptical, and they keep trying to do it their way. And the other half were like, I'm still skeptical, but I'm going to try it. And when they come back the next week and they're like, I got so much done. I got more done in this week than I've ever done before. I'm like, welcome to my world. We're going to gamify our week. So what this looks like is the first thing you want to do is we work in 12 week increments. So 3 months. We take 3 months at a time because we're gamifying. So in 3 months, I want you to choose a goal. Like I'm going to write my proposal. I'm going to defend my proposal. I'm going to collect and analyze my data, or I'm going to finish the entire dissertation. So those are your 4 options. Number 1, write the entire proposal. Number 2, defend the proposal in IRB. Number 3, collect and analyze data. And number 4, write up the entire dissertation. So those are your 4 options to have a goal over 3 months. You pick something that feels like, are you on drugs, girl, that I can write my proposal in 3 months? Nope. Because this is you challenging your ADHD. Because if you let yourself step out of the fear for 2 seconds, what you'll also sense is excitement. Fear and excitement have the same frequency. We have to learn to distinguish between the two. What you may think is fear and hesitancy may be excitement. Excitement to like, oh, what if I could write my proposal in 90 days? What if I could finish my final chapters in 90 days? What would that mean for me? So somebody right now, it's August. What if you could finish your proposal and defend it before 2024 was over? What if you could finish your dissertation and defend it before 2024 is over? We start doing things like this because I'm speaking directly to your ADHD. Like, ooh, think about the reward. Think about how good it would feel, right? But then you immediately start getting scared with everything you have to do. We're not there yet. We're just on the first. What's your first goal? Once you have, okay, this is my overall goal. We're going to take it 30 days at a time. What is one thing that you're going to focus on for the next 30 days? You want to think about writing a chapter every 30 days or doing like a milestone like, oh, I'm going to submit IRB or I'm going to get all of my data collection done. So Erica, who I mentioned, was able to collect all of her data in less than 30 days because we followed a system. We were already planning for that. This is how you start to plan ahead. So let's say you're brand new. Your 12-week goal is to finish the proposal in the next 90 days. Your goal for the next 30 days is to write your methods chapter, because that's what I suggest. Write your methods chapter first. So then everything that you're going to do for the next 30 days is in service of writing a full draft of your methods chapter. So when you come to the call on Sunday and I'm like, all right, let's make your plan so that you can write your methods chapter over the next 30 days, I'm going to say, okay, what are the 15 tasks you're going to do this week? 15 tasks that take 30 minutes or less. We have a whole process that we walk you through to get you to 15 tasks, but essentially there are 15 tasks that take 30 minutes or less to complete. And when you leave the call, you have a list of these 15 tasks. And these tasks sound like read the chapter 3 outline in the dissertation vault. It'll say free write for 25 minutes using the outline from the dissertation vault. It will be edit, do like Grammarly check for 25 minutes after you write the shitty draft. Right, we have a whole checklist because ADHD got checklists. So you would follow the first 15 steps of the checklist. This is how someone can come back in 1 week and have a full draft of chapter 3 of their methods chapter. Imagine how you would feel if you had, and let me give as much detail as possible. When I'm saying write a shitty draft of a chapter, so let's say that first week, that person comes back with a 5 to 7 page shitty draft of what they attempted to do for chapter 3. They're going to come back the next week and I'm going to say, how did it go? They're going to be like, oh, it's good. I went to my favorite Italian restaurant and I got some Merlot and I got my chicken piccata, which is my favorite meal. And I had my laptop and I did everything and I wrote the entire 5-page chapter. It's only 5 pages, but I was able to get something in each section. And I'm like, okay, great. With that momentum, what are we going to do this week? Because we're on week 2. Now, week 2, it's like, I'm going to go follow the Scholar editing routine. And when you follow that, you go from 5 pages to probably about 20 pages. Now we're on week 2. You still have a shitty draft. We haven't read anything because I need you to know you haven't read anything. But this person has a solid 20-page draft now because they've been gamifying it. They've been following the process. Now they can spend week 3, looking at literature, filling it in, formatting it, editing. They can do that for week 4 as well. And by the time they get to the end of 30 days, they have a solid draft that is about 70% done, and they can feel real confident to submit that to their chair and let their chair tell them what they need to do to make up the 30% so it's ready to go for their defense. Oh, I thought about someone else. Okay, so Logan has been working with me. She is high school English teacher. She does a lot of the tech stuff. And every week she would show up to her private 30-minute session. And I would say, okay, she didn't even do 15 things. It's like, what are the 5 things you're going to do? And how can we gamify this? Because she only had like 1 or 2 days a week to work on her dissertation. And 1 or 2 days was like 1 or 2 hours each day. So what we would do is write down this very detailed list. Go to this website. Get these 3 articles. Read these sections in the article. Write a shitty paragraph about this one section. Like, that's how detailed her plan was. So all she had to do is say, I'm going to be in my classroom, I'm going to turn on my music, I'm going to set the environment, and I'm going to just go and cross out as many things as possible. Which is how she's at the point now that she's preparing to defend her proposal. I didn't hear from my friend. Every time I hear from her, she's like, I'm good, I got it. Because what I'm teaching you is a system. What you need desperately with the ADHD, you do need routines. People are right. You do need routines and you need systems, but you need something that works with the way you work. When people are too busy acting like Sam, if you were here then with that analogy, when people are too busy freaking out about the dissertation, they're freaking out about the fact that, okay, I got to organize my time. I got to figure out how to design the research. I have to figure out how to write it. And I have to figure out what to do with my emotions and my imposter syndrome. They're not used to dealing with multiple things at the same time. But you've been doing this your whole life. The only thing that I find when I'm talking to people, especially those with ADHD, is that you keep listening to Sam. You keep borrowing Sam's angst and stress and anxiety. Sam is having a hard time because Sam can only do 3 things. What it takes Sam, like when Sam reads 3 articles, you read 10. So when you're listening to somebody who can't handle that, the only thing is stop listening to them. Let them struggle. And I mean that with all the love in my heart. But you can't catch them up to you because for your whole life, you've been operating at this level. There is no amount of, it's gonna be okay, Sam. You can do this. That is going to help Sam reach the level of your capacity. Y'all 2 different people, okay? Sam's gonna have support, okay? Because Sam, most likely, using that analogy from earlier, Sam and the advisor speak the same language. Sam got support. You don't have support, right? Because you don't speak the same language. The brains don't work the same. So they don't know how to tell you what to do. So when you come over here in my world, I'm like, yeah, you thought it was going to take you a year. Actually, it's going to take you like 3 months. You're going to freak out. And then I'm going to hold space. And it's like, it's fine. You can freak out. But over here, I'm going to show you. Because excuse me, I played a long game. I love to be like, I know you don't believe it now. I know you don't believe it. But I believe it enough for the both of us. So come over here and let me show you a different way of being. When you are following a process like this, where you're working in 12-week cycles, and you're showing up and you're putting your 10 hours in, you're getting your 15 tasks done, and you start to notice something. You start to be like, wait a minute. What starts to catch up was, I didn't realize I've been playing small, not because I chose to on purpose, but because I was listening to people who ain't on my level. That starts to mean something different to you. That starts to hit you different, like in your bones, in your gut. You're like, wait a minute. I just thought I was on JV when I'm supposed to be on varsity. Do they have JV and varsity still? I don't know. I don't have kids, right? But I thought I was I've been on the wrong league. I'm in the wrong league. I'm like LeBron James at the high school championship when I already know I'm about to go to the NBA. I'm just over here making fun of them. Like this is not even a real game. It's like the dream team right now, or a couple of weeks ago in the Olympics. Like, is this real? Is it really hard? It's not. It's not hard for you. The only thing that's hard for you is you're listening to other people and their projections of they don't have as much practice as you do of like juggling multiple things. So when I come to you, when you're feeling good and you're like, oh, I'm in there. Look at me and my plan every week. Look how much I'm able to get done. And I'm like, okay, so are you ready to start your business or what? You ready? And then people like to say, but Dr. Lacey, I can't do both. I'm like, you just wrote a proposal in record time. What is happening? But it's the old thinking. It's the years of being around people who can't really perform at your level. What if you thought about your ADHD as like, I'm able to do more than the average person? And that's great. Because we need different types of people with different capacities. What if you a saying or a question that I asked Erica and now that I ask everyone, what if you just allowed yourself to be a powerhouse? What that means is, what if you allowed yourself to believe you do have a higher capacity to do things? And instead of using that capacity for everybody else, you say, what do I really want to do? And you allowed yourself to go all in on your goals. Right now, most of you, who, especially if you have ADHD, you don't realize how much you do because you're doing it for other people. But you're telling yourself, I have to. I'm the only one. Yeah, you're the only one because you have such a high capacity, but you could tell them no. You could tell that job, no, you hired me for this job. You got me working 4 jobs. But they don't want you to know that, because if you know that, then they're going to have to hire people. Every time I leave a job, they have to hire 2 or 3 people to replace me. I need you to look at your history. What do you know about your previous jobs and the work that you do on committees and stuff? If you notice a pattern of it, when you leave a space, how they have to replace you, what that person behind you is able to do, I think it'll change how you look at yourself. Because the way I'm like, every time I leave, y'all got to hire multiple people. I didn't even really think I was working that hard. I would have told you I was just going to work doing the bare minimum. But you got to hire 2 people to do that? Fascinating. And this is how I get to your 10% is everybody else is 90%. because you have a superpower. You have to learn how to work with it. You have to learn to not be in a 90-degree room. You have to find a temperature that works for you. And it may not work for other people. So you probably heard me mention in different examples about go to other places to write. Stop trying to be like, oh, this means I'm serious. Go to your favorite restaurant. Go to your favorite bookstore. Like, I'm quick to take a laptop somewhere. Everywhere is my office because you need stimulation. I do have my headphones with me all the time. I like to my eyes need the stimulation, but my ears need to listen to one thing most of the time, especially if I'm doing something like very like administrative heavy. I'm gonna need to focus. I don't like doing that. So I gamify it I listen to my Megan Thee Stallion playlist. It get me going. And then I'm like, how can I break this up in little micro tasks so I can keep crossing things off so that I can feed my dopamine so I can keep going, so I can get all this done. That means going to places that stimulate you. That also means giving yourself a dedicated time every week and every morning probably to say, what do I want to get done today? If I'm really overwhelmed, I'm like, what are the 3 things I'm going to do today? 3. What are 3 things? And these 3 things need to take me 30 minutes or less to do. So what are 3 things? Okay. Sometimes it's like you're going to take a shower and you're going to change your clothes and you're going to eat something other than peanut butter. Now, if I don't know how your ADHD is, but there's some times where I'm like, ooh, that's going to be a lot, girl. Like, you asking for a lot. You want me to take a shower and change my clothes and eat something other than peanut butter? That's all I'm going to do for the day. Like, if I'm in that mode, if you're in like an ADHD, like shut down or burnt, sometimes you like, that's what I got. We're going to get out the bed. We're going to shower. Okay. We're going to change our clothes and we're going to eat something like a sandwich. Other days, those 3 things are like, oh, I'm going to write this chapter of mine because I'm working on my book, this chapter of the book. I'm going to make this carousel for Instagram and I'm going to meet with this client or something. Right. But it's about, okay, what are the 3 things I want to do every day? Now, what is going to help me do those 3 things? What's going to be your reward throughout the day? You need rewards. What are your rewards? I have a list of things that I know are rewards for me. So an example is I get to play there's 50 billion Candy Crushes. So one of those Candy Crush games, or I get to watch an astrology video on YouTube, or I get to lay down in my bed. That's my new thing. My other thing has been, I get to go sit in my car for 20 minutes because it's quiet and it's small. It's a whole thing. But I have a list of rewards because every time that I cross something off my list, I get a reward. This is why the Pomodoro technique works. For those of you who have tried it and you're like, I really swear by it, that's why. Because you're doing something for a set period of time. You have a task from start to finish. And when you're done with it, you get to have a break, which is a reward. But I would argue you don't need just a break from the work. You also need something that's going to stimulate a different part of your mind. When I was a doc student, my reward used to look like watching business videos or decorating my planner. Because I had like 4 big old boxes of stickers and whatnot. I needed to do something as a reward. For my friends, it was watching TV. I needed something else because I was already using TV to help myself write. So these are my tips. But like, if you have other questions, let me know. It's definitely a benefit. So much respect for people who work full time and write a dissertation. Yes. And especially with my folks who have ADHD working full time and you're writing a dissertation, what I tell them is to look at how much you do in a typical week. If you were only doing your job as is written in your job description, this gonna save somebody. Go look at your job description. If you work full time, especially, I need you to go pull your job description. I need you to read the job they hired you for. I want you to compare that list that they hired you for to the list that you do in a typical week. If there are things that you are doing that is not in that job description, I need you to have a conversation with your supervisor and say, help me either update this job description or we're going to have to talk about some compensation. And compensation doesn't just mean money. I get that people are like, oh, we don't have the budget. You know what you do have? Time. You know what I can do? Leave. Because when you're looking at that list, even though you're probably doing more than what the job description says, you're probably also doing it in less time. When I was working full time, I was doing all of my stuff for work in one day. The other 4 days, I was like, I shall work on my business. Why? Because I'm not doing nobody's extra committees. I'm not trying to prove myself to you. You hired me to do a job. I showed up and did that job. And I know that me showing up doing that job automatically puts it at an extra 20%. You over here wild, and all I did was a little razzle-dazzle. So I'm not going to work harder. There you go. You're good. And I'm going to take my energy and my time, and I'm going to go focus on my business, which is fun for me, which is rewarding for me, which helps me in my ADHD so that I can show up to your little raggedy, boring job and do what you're asking me to do. I got something fun over here to do the boring thing. You need something fun because the dissertation won't always be fun. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be tedious. What is going to be your reward or your creative project that's going to help you stay focused on your dissertation? Okay. Submitting my chapters 4 and 5 by the end of the month, and then prepare for revisions the next 30 days. I love it. Are you ready to work with Bill again on your revisions, Erica? Okay. Anybody have questions or thoughts? Can I at least get one takeaway if you're still here, if you've been with me? What is one main thing that you're taking away from today's conversation? What is one thing? And I wish that like Instagram let you keep the chat, but they don't. So any questions or anything that you are taking away? So I'm seeing that a lot of people are saying that this makes sense, that it's been helpful, and I'm so glad. I want to talk more about just gamifying and ADHD and whatnot, because the way that I act like I'm a kid all the time, I'm like, it works. I talk to myself like a 3-year-old because that's the only way I'm going to get myself to do things. Otherwise, you just be trying to force yourself to be a grown-up, and what the hell does that mean? You gave me more peace to just be me and work how I work. Yes, do what works best for you. Gamify everything. Yes, please, y'all. Like a timer will be everything. Like, so, okay, this is the last thing, and I promise I'll leave, okay? Because, sir, y'all don't hear him, but he is like right here. Keep going, find your flow, and go with it. At night, I hate shutting down the kitchen, but I grew up with a black mama who was like, you can't go to sleep without the kitchen being clean. So what I have to do is I have to either turn on a YouTube video, like a business training that I've been saving because I save videos for this purpose, or I have a playlist. It's called You Got Me Fucked Up because it helps me. It's like my angry playlist. And so then I turn that on, and then I set a timer for 15 minutes. And I say, whatever you can get done in this 15 minutes is good to go. But after this 15 minutes, if it's not done, it's okay. At least you can say you did something, girl. And that gets me every time. I'm like, at least I can say I did something. Most of the time, I'm able to clean up everything in 15 minutes. On the rare occasion that I'm not, I'm like, I don't feel no guilt about it because I did 15 minutes. Okay, bye. And that is really the foundation and the principle of everything that I teach you in the Finish Your Dissertation program. If you want to learn more, let me also put the website. I'm going to put it in the bio because you won't be able to click here. But you can go to qualscholars.com/The Institute, THEINSTITUTE. I will put it in the bio to make it clickable. But there is a sales page. It walks you through everything. Plus, you can even watch the orientation video where I even did a whole Beyonce lesson, which I love. I did put it on YouTube. I probably need to make it public because I feel like that was a good conversation about linking Beyonce, Cowboy Carter. So yeah, I'm newly diagnosed at 32, so I'm just finding my people. Yes. I was over here like on TikTok. I'm like, oh, there are other people. Because for a while I was like, I guess it's just me because nobody was really talking about it when I was in the program. And then TikTok just made everything come together for me. I was like, oh, okay, it's not just me. That is one. That is my one thing, is just reminding myself to actually celebrate when I do my thing. Yes, and we can always remember to celebrate, right, Danielle? And so I think that's why the reward thing helps me too, especially if I'm playing a game, because the game has confetti, and I'm like, ooh, we did it. It's so easy to just consider it normal to check my list off. Yeah. I used to have a client who would, every time she did something, she would put it on a sticky note and put it around her office. And at the end of the week on Sunday, when we did our plan, she would just take them all out and count them. And it was something, her face would light up about like counting out the Post-its and then telling us like, look, y'all, I did 65 or 75 or whatever. And that meant she was like celebrating every single thing she did throughout the week. Yeah, it does. It makes you want to keep going. Okay. If y'all have questions, let me know. I am going to go. I appreciate your time and your attention though. You're going to be seeing things. We're going to have the 10 pages in 2 days writing retreat. Some people were asking me about that. That's going to be on Saturday, August 31st, Sunday, September 1st from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. What we do is the first 2 hours is to help you get organized. And I teach you more things like I did here, of how to like get yourself organized for the writing retreat. So you can go into either a breakout room or stay in the main room with us and get that done. That's usually the first day, is getting yourself organized. And the second day is, okay, how do you deal with the imposter syndrome and the uncertainty and the burnout, like the emotional side of writing, and give you some things to help you with that for the first 2 hours. And you have 2 hours of writing. And you may think, what am I going to do with a total of 4 hours of writing, girl? But people have been able to write full chapters. Like, think about how you feel right now. If you've been here the whole time in this conversation, think about how you feel. Imagine being in a writing retreat with us, and it's only $25. So that link will be up as well, because we'll be doing that next week. If you're already in the Institute, well, you already get to come. So we'll do that. Okay, y'all, I'm going to go for real. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Bye, y'all.